Bronny was playing ball with his University of Southern California team when the event happened. This morning, he is stable and out of ICU, but remains in the hospital. His family, of course, is asking for privacy at this time. The question this morning we are all asking ourselves, how and why did this happen? Joining me this morning is Dr. John Higgins, sports cardiologist at UT Health Houston. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for coming in and participating in this conversation. I know each case is different, but my question is this morning, how common is heart disease among teen athletes? People that we tend to think are healthy individuals.
Well, you know, we have 2,000 plus deaths each year in the United States, Zach, from just this. And we've got a system in place that doesn't correctly identify many of these. In fact, the history and physical, which is the standard of care in many schools as well as even universities, at its best only detects about 1 in 4 of these cases of underlying heart disease. In order to get that number higher, you've got to do some additional screening tests like ECGs, and/or ultrasounds. And we've shown that in our research, as well as Scott Stevens, is going to talk to you later. His data has also shown the power of the ECG. So it's common, Zach. There are two possibilities here that with Ronnie. One is that he had an underlying abnormal cardiovascular condition. And there are 4 kind of things that bother here. One is a problem with the muscle of the heart. One is a problem with the blood supply to the heart. One is a problem with the electrical activity of the heart. And then finally, one is a problem with the valves and the blood vessels from the heart. So it could be that he had some condition within that realm. It also could be that sometimes if there is a situational or environmental condition of extreme, like, for example, heat stroke can cause a cardiac arrest, or if someone has very low body salts, for example, or very low potassium or magnesium, that can also irritate the heart and lead to this, as well as a big blood clot to the lung could lead to a cardiac arrest. So what we don't know is what happened to Ronnie. What we do know is that they were able to resuscitate him quickly. It sounds like, from what I heard, he was defibrillated, which suggests that there's a cardiac problem. And he's out of ICU now, which is great. And I always look at it like this, Zach, that, it's a tragedy, but we got him back,
Yeah, very thankful. In situations like this, again, every situation is different. Are there signs, symptoms to look out for?
Well, some children will have some signs and symptoms prior to this cardiac arrest. They may, for example, complain of some chest pain or chest pressure when they're working out, or difficulty breathing. They may have a pounding in the chest or palpitations, or they may just feel really nauseous or queasy when they're exercising, or just don't feel right. Of course, if you have any of those, we want you to make sure you stop, let your trainer know. And it's also important to avoid things that we know are unhealthy for kids. So we know that energy drink consumption or high caffeine consumption when you're working out is probably not a good idea. And keeping well hydrated, especially in the heat we have right now.
Yeah, those are really great tips and suggestions. Is there anything student athletes, parents can do right now, coaches can do right now to prepare to be prepared in a situation like this, to prevent something like this happening, testing, other precautions?
Yeah, well, I think, Zach, I think we've got to move beyond the history and physical we're doing now. We're missing 3 out of 4. Now, Cody's bill, which you'll be hearing about later, that is a bill where we're educating schools and students about the value of the ECG. We, and as well as Scott Stevens, have found if you add the ECG to that screening, you're going to bump that number up. You're going to get 3/4 or more of these kids identified early. I think the key is identify them early. However, if you don't identify them, make sure, again, we have a bill in Texas that people are familiar with the AICD, the device, external cardioverter defibrillators. They're at all sporting events, at airports, and train on them.
Businesses.
So, so if someone does go down, whether it be the athlete or even the parent who's watching, that you get there, get that device on. Anyone can do them. They're very easy. They tell you what to do. They'll shock them back to life, because getting the rhythm restored as soon as possible is the critical key.
Dr. Higgins, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate your insight very
Thanks,
much,
Zach,
sir.
and best to Ronnie's recovery.
Yes, thank you very much.